Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the American Scouser pre-match show live here today. Newcastle on the way, and I don't know who let me sit here, but here I am with you guys today. Just wanted to quickly come in, say hello to everyone who's tuning in, and hopefully it's going to be a great day. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go one by one. We've got a couple guests ready to get into the seat here to have some fun. The lineups have dropped, so we're going to definitely talk about what we see here. We see the brand new EDM midfield, so to speak. Klopp is going to drop that bass. That is the worst joke of the day today. So with that being said, I am going to bring on Gally. Welcome, Mr. Gally, my co-host, not really my co-host, the host of our fantasy football show. And how are you doing today, my friend?
Oh, come on. You're a co-host. We do it every week together. So I'm doing well. You are on fire with the jokes. So dropping the bass was interesting, and I guess the reason you're in that chair is because the normal host Timuchin isn't able to, and the backup host Gally isn't able to, and the next guy you bring on wasn't able to. So we went down the depth chart, kind of like Liverpool has at times this season, almost like we are at center back this weekend.
It's true. And speaking of, really quick, Sheffield just scored against City. So Sheffield just tied it up against City, which I think if that game ends in a draw, let me start there. Do you feel like both teams are going to come into this game with even more intensity, knowing that if they can get 3 points away from each other, they'll be able to gain a little bit more ground on City throughout the year? Do you think it matters? Do you think they're already going to come in regardless? Or do you think that result can kind of shift the mindset a little?
I absolutely believe that both teams were coming into this match very up for this, and probably with over intensity for a match week 3. This really has the feeling of like a 6-pointer for both top 4 positions and trying to be the team that keeps within touching distance of City. Now, most of that was before FotMob updated and told me that the score was 1-1. And I'm a little shocked when you see the possession stats and the numbers in this match. It's kind of ridiculous. But it is nice to see, even if Pep isn't there, they're keeping the same tactics of not utilizing subs, because they just made their first sub in the 86th minute when they brought on Phil Foden, because they didn't need to bring on an attacker to try to win the match at all during it. They were basically content with trying to run out a 1-0 victory. So, but enough about that. Obviously, Liverpool plays today. I think Newcastle will be up for it. And just like that, Rodri has scored, of course, to take the lead.
So never mind. So there goes the slight celebration there.
So I'd say it's probably even more important now that these teams stay within touching distance. So overall, really excited to see how Liverpool takes on this, probably the second or third toughest away match they're going to have all year, in my opinion. The toughest fixture is Newcastle away at this point. So I think it's early season. It's a big day for Endo, obviously, on his debut. I'm interested to see how McAllister, and Dominic get along and how they can kind of feed the front 3. And I'm just really happy to see Gakpo back up top at the false 9.
Absolutely. And I think what I'm going to do, I know I mentioned I was going to do a little bit of a roulette, but I think it'd be really fun if we just bring on the whole gang all together. Let's just have a little 5-a-side here, and see what we can get done. So let me introduce to everyone, Maka. Maka, hello. Welcome on.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure I can do you out in the bad joke stakes by the end of this whole thing. I'm going to start with now. That we definitely have EDM in the midfield, but we also have Dem because we're slightly on the left wing. Hey!
And then if we're not too careful, we're going to have Ned because everyone's sitting in the fucking physio tent.
Yes, there you go. Look, this is the gang. That means everybody else. Just this 3 for the rest of the whole thing.
Perfect. And then following that up, John, I don't know what you can do, but hello, John. You can fill in at CB, it looks like.
I can fill in at CB, man. Matip over Gomez, man. I'm worried. I'm really worried. I had some positivity coming in because City was drawing, but then Gally just mentioned that Rodri just scored. So I was like, oh, well, that was fun. I guess.
We'll get into the lineups here, and wanted to say also hello to Kazi. Kazi, how are you?
I'm good, boys. How are you?
Doing well.
Just watched Sheffield United miss a glorious chance to make it 2-2, but there we are.
It is what it is. So, speaking of the lineup here, let's take a look at the 11 that will start today. Maka, let's start with you. Any Any initial thoughts looking at this? Anything that surprises you? Do you think this is sort of what we expected?
Yeah, no, I would have expected this if Kanate was out. I mean, Gomez is nice and robust and all that, but Matip just gives us that little bit more on the ball going forward, I think, from the centre-back spot. But it also means we can keep Gomez on the bench if anything goes awry with Trent. So it seems like a logical lineup. I'm happy to see Gakpo there again, because I think he's rapidly becoming the centerpiece of the team in that sense. He adds to the attack and creates, and then he gets back and he hustles in midfield and he gives us that extra body in there. But I hope I'm like with everybody else. I want to see Endo again. I want to see what he's doing with like an extra week's training and how he fits in, and whether we're going to see that snapping Jack Russell Terrier tackling that we've been told about before he signed. So I think a predictable lineup, but I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I mean, at least that's what we hope for, is fun. John, do you feel like this just wasn't Darwin Nunez's game to start? Do you think he's being saved for a different game? What's going on there, you think?
Well, our front line, this is probably the best we could line up in terms of our front three, in terms of the opposition. Like, I mean, Darwin, I love Darwin, man, but you can't have his unpredictability here taking on Newcastle. Sure, he in terms of him not knowing what he has to do in terms of the press and everything, that's going to be big, because I expect Newcastle to have most of the ball here. I expect us to press and try and win, try and hit them on the counter. And our best pressers are probably these three, Diaz, Salah, and Gakpo. So he's probably going to come into the lineup at a less critical fixture, as you were touching upon, at the start of the show. This is I believe it was Gally, actually. This is a very big game, arguably our second hardest away game to start the season. So we really have to be, in terms of our attack, be at our best. And unfortunately, Darwin's not the guy for this match. Not now.
Kazi, do you see Darwin and Jota coming out at the same time in that 60-65 minute mark? What do you think will be the plan there?
I think it depends on the game, to be honest, and how the game's going. I don't think Darwin starts, because I have a weird feeling that he might be crap. So I think if Liverpool got the money back right now, I think they'll take it. I think if Liverpool got offered the 80 mil back, I think they'll take it.
Do you guys believe those Chelsea rumors, by the way?
I mean, yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it? Where's that come from? And they won it. They won it. Well, yeah. Go ahead.
It's their Torres regen. You know what I mean?
It is their Torres regen. Yeah, I think it just depends how this game goes, to be honest. I think it's going to be a lot more tactical than what we think. I think people forget as well, when we beat them 2-0 last year and we battered them, we were still in the 4-3-3 mode, because I think that game was mid-February. So Liverpool could resort back to that. That's why I think Liverpool will go back to the 4-3-3 and this less inverted Trent role, because of Matip starting. So it'll be very interesting, actually, because if that worked for you last time, why change it, kind of thing. Sure. It also gives Endo a lot more space to cover, which is a bit worrying, especially when he's only been in the formation for a week and the team for like a week, kind of thing. So I'm interested, man, but I do think we go back to the 4-3-3.
Gally, do you think having Matip on that side and not having Trent invert is going to help out more in defense in regards to maybe Isak coming down that side, because he likes to come down that left side a lot? So do you think having Trent not invert and stay back will offer that much more protection, or do you think that you should still kind of stick to what's been working?
Well, I agree with Kazi. I mentioned it Monday night that I expected the 4-3-3 to come back. I'll also say, it all depends, right? It depends on whether or not we get Trent of 2 or 3 years ago, who played confidently going forward, but still remembered he was paid to defend and play the right back position. If he keeps some of that position and stays back, we know it's Gordon coming at him a lot and Isak at times, right? So him and Matip have to work well together and make sure that they're covering the runners coming into space. If they're doing that, then I think we could find a lot of joy. For all the plaudits Eddie Howe has deserved to get for the job he's done at Newcastle, he has never once done a good job managing against Jurgen Klopp. It's almost like he gets caught in his own head. He loves to talk about him before the match and after the match and somewhat give him praise, but also criticize him. It's this inferiority complex. And I love Eddie Howe. People who've listened to this pod know I was supporting him going to Newcastle and everyone thought it was a shit move. And it probably was, but it worked out. So, we'll ding 1 for the Galley spectrum, which means I only got about 800 more I got to get right to catch up. Where I do think the tactical, where I think the tactics have to be spot on today are between Endo, Virgil, and Matip. When one of them releases, when they go into space, I think Endo has to make sure he plays just like he did last week with 10 men on the pitch, like within himself, short passes, move the ball forward, but just make sure he doesn't get caught on the ball in tough spots. And I think he's a seasoned veteran. I expect him to have a good match. And I think he's a big key to whether or not we come away with 3 points today. And I really believe there's a good shot that we do. We set up well to play this team. I mean, they're starting Anthony Gordon, people. We should be able to go at them.
It's one thing I worry about there, though, when you mention that, is their side, actually, because I think this is Robertson's biggest game for ages. With Trippier and Almiron, he just don't stop running at you. And if he can't have a first half like he did against Chelsea, if he has a first half like he did against Chelsea, we get battered. So it's very, very important that he's on this game today. He needs to be the old Andy Robertson. So
yeah, I feel like Andy's been one of the talking points of the season so far, not really being up to snuff with the rest of the players. And you feel like this could be the turning point in the year? I'll kind of open that up to the floor. Maybe John, do you think if Andy has a good game here, that could really catapult the next 6, 7, 8 fixtures potentially?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not just him. If we manage to get a win here, I think, just to pile on with Kazi's point, I think we actually challenge for the league. I don't know about winning it, but I feel like we challenge for the league if we finish off and win this game. So, it's a big test for Robbo. It's a big test for everyone. Endo, it's his first game in at the 6. It's going to be interesting to see how it's going to be. But, major test for us. And I predict a draw, but I wouldn't be surprised if we come on and win, considering how I think everything's going to be at a knife's edge here. I think whoever gets the early goal, like my early prediction, whoever gets the first goal wins the game.
Marco, do you?
Go ahead.
I think
the thing about Robertson is that and I just had to double check there. I think we have to remember that he is hitting 30. So it is possible he's coming to that stage of his career where the physical demands, certainly of the Klopp team, are going to start affecting him a lot more. And he maybe should be thinking of his future replacement. I'm not on the same side as John here. I would never want to predict, and I think Kazi hopefully will be with me, a Newcastle Liverpool game. It just has never been predictable. It could go anyway. It's like I remember us playing them when they were the hot team back in the 90s, and we were still trying to find their feet under Roy Evans, and there was just no way of saying how things were going to go. So I'm not going to be as confident in any sort of prediction in the way this is going to go. It's going to be fun. That's all I hope for.
All that we want is from life, right? Is a little bit of fun. And I wanted to say good morning to Ryan. You mentioned what is the over/under on Anthony Gordon's dives today? If I put the over/under at, let's say, 3, let's go down the line. Gally, over/under 3.
I mean, are we talking just straight up like jokes of flops to the ground? If it's anywhere on the pitch, I'll take the over all day, and I would probably take the over. And then I would parlay it with something ridiculous, like him actually being sent off for a dive in the box and then for immediate descent afterwards. Like that's an Anthony Gordon afternoon for you. But if you're saying dives in the box that could be for attempted penalties, I'll take the under because I don't think he's going to get himself into that many good positions inside the box dribbling.
Maybe I had the number too low to begin with. But John, over/under 3.
Definitely over. I think in the first 10 minutes, he's going to try and pull something slick, knowing this guy. So I'm not going to really elaborate. Maka kind of got me thinking here. Am I in over my head trying to predict everything that's going to go on? So let me just say it's going to go over. Nothing more.
Maka?
I don't care about the over-under on his dives. I think we can assume over. I want to know the over-under of how many times he's going to argue with Howe over some decision that affects where he is on the field, because he's just for Kazi, he's a moany old shite. That's what he is.
He is. I'll go under because he's getting subbed at half time for Harvey Barnes.
That's fair.
To be totally honest, I don't understand how he's not lost or how he hasn't lost his place yet to Harvey Barnes. In the 2 cameo appearances I've seen Barnes play, he's looked bright and lively on the left-hand side, and he almost, fair to say, he looks a better player because he has a living, breathing center forward playing in the middle of the pitch, making runs for him, and not, just Jamie Vardy running up and down the field thinking about where he's going to go drink after the match. I mean, Harvey Barnes could be one of the steals of the season coming from the championship in Leicester and coming to Newcastle. I think he could play a huge role. And I think we're very lucky that Eddie Howe's showing some loyalty to Anthony Gordon today, in my opinion.
It's a weird one, man. It is a super weird one with Gordon, I think. I think he's trying to justify the fee. I think it could be one of those signings where he's not strong enough to leave him out kind of deal. I don't know if that, maybe I'm looking into that a bit too much. But where Klopp is, of course, he's strong enough to leave Núñez out, for example, where a lot of people go, he's an £80 million striker when things aren't going well. But I do look at it, and he started Solanke for months at Bournemouth. Is that like a justifying the fee? I don't know, but it just seems a bit weird that he keeps starting him over the Harvey Barnes thing.
Yeah, and I guess speaking of fees a little bit, and Serzi pretty much read my mind, is this the last match we see Salah in a Liverpool shirt? Does anybody think yes?
Here's what I think. If somebody in the Saudi Arabian League somebody in there wants to buy him, I would say tell them to give us the same amount of money it's going to cost us to get Mbappe from PSG, and that's how you do the deal. Other than that, he should be going nowhere.
He's worth more to Liverpool than 100 million right now. Liverpool have another season outside the Champions League. It's worth more to Liverpool than 100 million. Whether Liverpool, do I think they'd be tempted at 150, 200 probably? But even at that money, if Liverpool finish fifth again, then you know what I mean. What's the point in the money? The money means nothing. So Liverpool have to get back in the Champions League. So,
and considering how late it is in the window as well, it would be foolish to let him go. We can't even get a proper six, a starting caliber six. What more, a Salah replacement, which is probably in the realm of Mbappe. So it would be bordering on negligence to just let him go at this point. So no, I don't think he is.
But that's what we do. We sell good players late in the window and then don't replace them.
We do crazy shit. I'm not arguing that we do crazy stuff, but this would be the most insane thing to do. 225 is interesting because I mentioned Kvaratskhelia in the chat at 22. It looks like he's got all the potential to be the next Mo Salah kind of thing. But it's like, would Napoli let him go for 100 million right now? Napoli are back in the Champions League kind of thing and winning the league and stuff in it.
Fifth place gets a CL.
Does get Champions League starting this year.
Depends. They haven't announced it yet, but we are the favourites for the fifth place Champions League in the Premier League. But it hasn't been officially announced, but it should.
It's the expected change. Yeah.
Fifth place.
So my thing on the whole Salah thing, I had this conversation in the chat. I've gone back and forth on it. I don't think you should sell the player at all. I think that this club would absolutely entertain an offer of 150 million or more if they got some indication from the player that he was open to making the move. And Mo Salah's got too much class. And we've talked a lot, right, about how these players really they have to weigh all these decisions because one of those decisions is uprooting your family and taking it to a country where there's a curfew for women at 8:00 at night, right? Like they can't leave without their, I forget the exact term that it's called, but it's a legal binding thing, right? And this stands for the players as well. Their wives can't go to a grocery store or go shopping in the evening if they want to, or go out with their girlfriends. That isn't a huge problem or burden to Mo Salah because though he has lived in that lifestyle and talks openly about living a similar lifestyle. So when we talked about the area of the world, the type of situation it is, there are a lot of factors that make it more on the scarier side, including the large sum of cash and the fact that he's up for a contract next summer. I'm not saying he's going to leave, but if Liverpool got the feeling he might, I could see them accepting the 150 million, trying to buy somewhat of a replacement before the end of this window and gearing up to spend big in January and then again next summer. If it's 5 positions and they feel like they can compete with what they have, the strength of the team is the front three. Granted, that's all built around Mo, don't get me wrong. But, it might all change and it might be Diaz on the right, Núñez on the left, and Gakpo through the center, Szoboszlai and McAllister as 10s, and you attack forward and you buy a player or two, maybe not at the level. But this club will sell when big money offers come. And this could be that monster money offer. I'm not saying I'm rooting for it, but when you start hearing these reports from actual transfer guys like Ruud Gulletti, like actually tapped in guys, that's a real reporter in journo in England saying, or in Europe saying this could happen is at least real. So to me, where there's smoke, there's fire. And it'll be really interesting to see his attitude on the pitch today.
I think it depends again as well, though, where Liverpool finish this season before next season. If you finish fifth again, Mo Salah leaves Liverpool, whether we like it or not. If we don't finish in the Champions League, whatever that is, if we don't play in the Champions League, Mo Salah leaves Liverpool. So it gets to the point where I can actually see next summer Mo Salah signing the new contract with like a 70 million buyout clause along those lines as a favour kind of thing. So you do another couple of years for me, but also there's a buyout clause there, and if someone activates your buyout clause, something along those lines, which a lot of clubs do. They go, oh, they just signed a new deal, and then you leave 6 months later because there's a buyout clause in there. So something along those lines, I could see that, because I think people understand as well. Need to forget he's never injured, you know. Like, he's fit every week. Like, he's 31. There's no miles really in terms of injuries on the clock. It looks like he can play till he's 40, like with the shape he's in. So it's not like, oh yeah, he's an old 31. It's like a Wayne Rooney 31 when he's knocking about at Everton. It's like, oh yeah, you can still play until you're 36 at a top level. So I think I can see something like that, the new contract with like a cheaper buyout clause happening for Liverpool.
Wayne Rooney knocking them out at Everton has two connotations, Cosy, to be fair. So you have to clarify which one we're talking about.
Yeah.
But the thing for me is, I think if he does happen to go in this transfer window, and we do what we usually do and dilly-dally around his replacement and then don't get anybody, I think Klopp starts looking away at the end of the season, because that's just one season too many of that kind of nonsense. He's trying to build a team, and he needs the support to do that. And if the people in charge of the transfers aren't doing their job consistently, there's no need for him to be here, because he'll never get the opportunity to build his next great team at Liverpool. So hopefully they do the right thing about throughout the entire process.
Yeah, what I hope is kind of like when Coutinho was sold, and we reinvested that on an Alisson and a Van Dijk. So if ever he does go, that's what I hope happens. I don't want him to go, but yeah.
Coutinho's the perfect example, though. He signed that contract 6 months before and then left because he had that buyout clause in there. So it suited everyone down to the ground. It suited Coutinho because he was getting paid more money for 6 months. And then it also suited Liverpool. So I can see Salah kind of happening with Salah goes up to 400, 420 for a year or two and then goes. Yeah.
And Gally, you mentioned the credible sources that are reporting this. You think something like this, where Cersei says that, given Newcastle and their owners, do you think there's a chance that a bunch of this just came out just to unsettle the squad and settle some of the mental headspace before the match?
I think the fact that Jurgen Klopp spoke about it actually at a press conference means it really is being talked about and has happened. And in a way, let's be real here, him talking is basically what FSG doesn't do, which is them sending the news through the media that we're not selling.
Yeah.
It's not, doesn't mean don't come back with a higher offer, because we're businessmen, just like they weren't selling the club, remember? And then all of a sudden Ornstein has the largest independent law firm and financial analyst in the world, Goldman Sachs, was evaluating the club to help them get a top dollar option. Because if you're going to take investment, you want to know how much it's worth if someone bought all of it, because you're trying to negotiate on both sides. And that's what wealth management people do. And I love the term wealth management. It's really rich people getting richer. And that's ultimately why they operate the way they do. So I think there is a lot here. I think the whole unsettling Liverpool thing, like the Saudi league is trying to unsettle football, and it's working. Like, it's working. It's changed the prices. So we're seeing guys like Declan Rice go for 120 million. And we're seeing guys like Enzo Fernandez and Caicedo be $250 million between two holding midfielders playing the same position on the same squad. You know, I think what the Saudis are doing was this is, to me, the double birds from the Saudis, because the world said, we don't want your dirty bleeping money in our leagues. We're going to put committees together in England to stop you from buying Manchester United and Liverpool. And they said, oh, you don't want us to own your toys? Well, watch this. We'll buy all your little cars that you play with in your little Tonka parking garage. We'll buy all those cars, and we'll just take them to the Saudi league, and we'll just leave you with what you have left. And they're unsettling the market, and they're unsettling football. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And I think this is just like the start. I mean, they could end up with so many more young and old, washed up players, good young players. I don't think this has anything to do with the Saudi league deciding that Mo Salah could make them $1 billion over the next 5 years and marketing him, that they want to help Newcastle pick up 3 points this weekend at St. James's Park.
Yeah,
I think we have to clarify. I think you have to clarify though that wealth management is rich people getting richer unless they're wealth management for Everton, in which case it's rich people getting poorer.
Yeah.
Well, that's almost like just stealing from the poor and taking it back from the poor, because then they have to go out and watch that shit on a Saturday afternoon.
We do say Everton is a religion, so that fits.
Anon, one of our morning show members here, one of John's partners in crime here. Kazi is right with giving Salah a new contract. A decent release clause as a favor could happen. It's what PSG are about to do with Mbappe. And he goes on to say that what they're doing is building their league for their 2034 World Cup bid. They pulled out of 2030 to get 2034, and all that makes sense. But we can definitely talk about that on any podcast during the week. We are going to kind of start wrapping this up a little bit. Speaking of getting settled, are we all watching this from home? Is anyone going to get settled out? Gally, you going out at all? John, Maka, Kazi, you guys staying at home?
Staying at home.
Staying at home today.
I have dishes to do whilst watching.
Yeah.
What was that?
I have dishes to do whilst watching. I'm domesticated.
Okay. How can you do that, man? I can't think of nothing else. Like when the matches.
But it gives me something to throw.
That's a good point, yeah. Yeah. Well, to be honest, when you seen Joe Matip starting, don't do the dishes, fella. Jesus Christ, cutlery left.
I was going to ask Mecca, how many dishes do you have left? Because if that's the case, I don't know where you're going to be eating from.
Hey, babe, we're having a takeaway tonight. We're having a takeaway.
Plastic dishes.
I would have there'd be a better chance of me finding a really large trash bin, all the dishes going into it, and then as soon as it ended, me basically letting Kel know that we were on our way to go buy a brand new set of dishes, because I was thinking about her all day, and I realized she really needed new dishes. And anyone who knows my wife would know that she would have no problem jumping right up and going out to go shopping. So
I'm going to bring in one more guest to wrap this up, and I'm not going to let him say too much. We're just going to look for like a 10-second thought and maybe a prediction, because, you know, we've all had a good time together, and Timothy doesn't need to come in and rustle up our five-a-side here. But welcoming our fearless leader here. Welcome. How are you?
I'm just eye candy. You know, I don't have to say anything. That's what I'm here for.
Well, we appreciate you devoting some time to this and actually blessing us with your presence. What are your thoughts when the lineup came out?
Matip, huh? Was my probably first thought, because I think we all expected Gomez. I think we all expected Gomez due to speed, right? I mean, I'm assuming we all naturally assumed Gomez. I don't know why, but I think that's the only thing that worries us. I mean, worries me at least. I feel a lot more confident with Endo doing the job, but like how that back 5 or 6, if you throw Ali in there, is what's going to determine this game. We'll create chances. I think we have more than enough talent going forward. Will we be able to defend? That's the biggest question.
So with the chances and the defense, what is your prediction for the score today?
Dude, I went with 3-2. I'm not backing out of that. We're winning this thing 3-2. A heart attack game waiting to happen. But yeah, I don't know if like that was before Konate, but then once I make a prediction, freaking stick with it. So I'm going with the 3-2.
John?
I had 2-1, but after Konate, I have a draw 2-2. Well, let me actually ask everyone here: if we draw this, is it a disaster? Is it a bad result?
No.
I think a draw is a good result, and if you can pull out the win, you leave ecstatic, whether you earned it, smashed them, or literally stole it at the clutches at the end of a match that we played poorly in. I just think these are the types of matches that are the pendulum matches that really swing where you end up finishing, whether you finish 5th or you finish 2nd or 3rd, you know, and I think that's a huge deal. But I'm going to change my pick from Monday night because I'm feeling confident and positive because of this 5-a-side morning we had. I'm going to say Liverpool wins 3-1, ends the day 2nd in the table.
I think 3-1. I'm going 3-1. But I'm with John, by the way, a little bit. But yeah, 3-1 Liverpool. I just think that we can just counter them and batter them. But I feel like that about everyone, to be honest. I feel like we can batter anyone. So that's me. Yeah.
Marco?
I'm going 4-3 because it's Liverpool-Newcastle, and that's the classic Liverpool-Newcastle score. I can't tell you who's going to get the 4, though, but it will be 4-3.
Sir Z is giving us a little preview that Matip scores. He's just not sure which end though. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes.
Boy can be man of the
3-1.
match.
Yeah, right. And Dom here says it's the results against the other top 6 teams that will determine our finishing position this year. And I think going back to when we look back in the season, if this is a draw today, we will always be more disappointed with the draw at Chelsea than any draw at St. James's Park. I think that was the match we'll keep looking back to, saying we could have had a little bit more from that. Any parting thoughts from anyone? Anyone want to share something with the crowd here as we settle in and.
Liverpool are magic, everything are tragic. I think that's always a good part.
Extremely. As much, I hope Liverpool score more goals than Everton have this season. That's what I hope.
In this game,
I want Liverpool to score more goals than what Everton have. But
I mean, down because Nat Phillips is not even in the squad.
Listen.
I didn't want to bring it up. I know
leave
it's
Nat alone.
Thing, but...
I feel like Nata, gets a hard done. But going off the things to leave, and you guys have just mentioned it. If you take 4 points off your rivals every year, you'll finish above them.
Yep.
I'm so sure of it.
Joel Matip, man of the match.
Sir Z did jump in earlier with why is Nat Phillips not even on the bench with his angry emoji.
Question. And I can give you the answer, right? It's because the Saudi League have just come in with a £90 million bid. You can't play him because he's far too important for the Reds. So
you know what the truth is? If the Saudi League came in with that bid, Gallagher's daughter wouldn't let him leave England because she'd be like, you and me, we're done because I don't need that Saudi money, actually. I got a little bit of my own, and Nat was probably like, you know what? I think it's nice in Leeds this time of year. I got an idea of us finding a little small apartment up in Leeds, and she was still probably like, we got to think about this more. But I'll get us out of here on this. Just thanking all the viewers and the people who chimed in this morning with the comments, and just make sure that you check us out for the post-match show. Nobody likes to plug their own show, so I'll sit here and plug one for Macca. He'll be done with the dishes. He'll still be domesticated, but at that point, he'll be given a 30-minute to an hour-long reprieve to host our post-match analysis, which hopefully will be slamming down on the victory from today after Liverpool comes out with a big
house will be
win.
like a Greek wedding after he's finished. Plates everywhere. Can't wait.
Well, Gally took the words right out of my mouth for the end. I have nothing left to say, but up the Reds. Let's go settle in, enjoy, and we'll be back after the match. Thanks again to everyone who tuned in, and we'll see you guys soon.
See you, boys.